Welcome back to the channel, guys. All right, so back to the Begode race. Let me get into it real quick. I decided to go on a spirited ride with this Begode race with one of my riding buddies who pretty much allowed me to use his race for testing, and I absolutely loved it. But what you see right now is me riding the race, and he's on his EX30, he's enjoying himself. This is his normal route that he typically goes, and I decided to, you know, just ride with him. And right here I tried to accelerate just to see how fast this thing is able to pick up speed at speed. Okay, so if I'm moving at 45 miles an hour, I'd like to see how quick it moves to 55 miles an hour, etc. And it was quite easy to do that. It was literally no effort at all. Now, I really liked the small profile of the wheel. And what's interesting about that small profile, as you expect, it's a lot more maneuverable. It's lighter, easy to, you know, carve in and out. Pedals are low though, but you could adjust them. And as you can see me maneuvering here, just testing it every now and then, because, you know, in my mind I'm thinking this thing is not at 200 miles yet, so I don't want to push it too much. But I do like the profile of this wheel and just how easy it is to maneuver. Now, what I noticed is, you know, this thing is really smooth once you get on it and once you get yourself comfortable. There are some drawbacks which I'll get into, but one of the reasons you see me sitting is because my pads are not perfectly set up yet. So I decided to just have a seat, and if you lower your center of balance, a lot of people call center of gravity, on any wheel, you will find that you'll have the best experience of that wheel in terms of balance and stability over a long distance, short distance, whatever. Typically on roads that are straightaways, when you pick up speed, you will start to feel a little bit uncomfortable if you're not experienced. Even with experienced riders, you'll experience some type of wobbles. Again, that's due to just rider setup. But let's not blame the rider most of the time here. In many cases, it's due to the architecture of the wheel itself. I mean, it sounds kind of funny that I'm blaming the wheel, but yes, there are instances where you can actually blame the wheel. So if you look at a bigger wheel like the InMotion P6, for example, you look at it and it's like, wow, this thing does 93 miles per hour, does 60 miles or 70 miles per hour, no problem, right? I've watched many reviews of the InMotion P6, and not one time have I heard people complain about wobbles. And if you did hear someone complain about wobbles, chances are it's their first time riding it, which is expected because it's a much heavier wheel. So naturally your muscles are not going to be acclimated to that weight. And what you see about the P6 is that it's so perfectly balanced because of how big it is. And bigger wheels tend to be more stable by nature, mainly because of how much distribution there is in how the battery placement is set left and right, front and back, and just the fact that the more height you have where a wheel kind of reaches far above your knees, closer toward the middle part of your thigh, and the pedals being low and the wheel base being really wide as well, what you notice is it's just naturally going to be stable. Because now if you imagine a wheel, a hoverboard, the hoverboard is like a really low technological device. It's a mobility device, but it's really low, and you'll find that it's terrible in terms of how stable it is because the center of balance is really low, right? So just imagine, like, I don't know, like a pendulum or something. You have the pivot point at the top and then you have the bottom. So just imagine the inverse, right? So you have the pivot point way at the bottom where your ankles are, where the pedal is, but your weight and, your height is like way above where that pivot point is. That would be why in many instances you have wobbles. There's not a balance. There's not an exact 50-50 or 40-60, or I think 40-60 might be the best balance, where you have 40% of the wheel taking up most of the space from your leg all the way up to your thigh area, maybe your knee up to a thigh, and then the 60% would be how tall you are from your waist up, right? But if you have a wheel that's like below that, 30% at the bottom, 70% at the top, and then you're trying to do all these crazy maneuvers at high speed, plus the wheel is like at a small design or profile, you're going to experience a lot of wobbles. And this is where your pads come in, right? So my pads, I didn't really take a lot of time to adjust my pads, which is why I had to pretty much, I did several things actually. Number one is sitting, which definitely takes care of wobbles. I get no wobbles whatsoever. You might get some type of gyroing to the left and right when you're at speed, but that's nothing. You can fix that. But what you'll also realize, what you can also do is while you're braking, if you experience a lot of wobbles, lift up your toes and press into your heels. So this is where I experienced the wobbles right there. That was kind of crazy. And I thought about it. I'm like, wait, there's no cars right now. This is the perfect opportunity to find a solution right now before I start getting more comfortable in this machine. And the immediate solution was to sit down. The immediate solution was to sit down. And if I end up standing up and pressing my and ended up getting wobbles, the first thing I do is press my heels into the back part of the pedal, lifting up my toes, and that immediately got rid of all the wobbles. So there are just certain things you have to know naturally in order to overcome certain things, especially when the wheel is brand new. But once again, what you saw was me just accelerating there, and it was beautiful, man. That wheel, 210 volts at that weight, 100 pounds, is just unbelievably fast. It's a pocket rocket. And sad thing that the execution of the Begode race was terrible, but overall, I love this thing. So we know that the Begode race is a 20-inch wheel, 101.4 pounds, which is 46 kg. It's 38 watt hours, 210 volts, 50S battery. You have another version, which is 3,000 watt hours, and then you have a 210 volts, 40p cell. I think the 40p also performs quite well, but the 50S between those two ends up being the best performer overall. So obviously I would absolutely go with the 50S, which is what I've been testing. I just like the current output and the stability of how it delivers energy. But again, I have not taken this thing through a true test. That's what I would really like to do, is take this thing on a real track type setup where I can truly push it to its cutout limit, really. Not due to over torquing, not due to going over the speed. I meant like really push this thing to where like you end up getting like thermal limitations, you know what I mean, where it starts pulling you back, saying, hey, this wheel is too hot, temperature too high. I really would not like to break it. I just want to see how, because it's a race, right? It's a race machine. That's what they said it's designed for. So that's what I would like to test it. I would like to test this machine to see how well it's able to perform under various conditions. And because it is a race machine, I want to take it to a point where I can accelerate, I can slow down in turns, especially in turns where, you know, when this is usually, even in race, even in like F1 racing or car racing or whatever, one of the things you notice, especially in toge, I love toge battles. I love these toge, Japanese toge machine cars where they come right behind each other and they're accelerating, and in that turn they go in, and it's like they're really on an edge, trying to not necessarily pass each other. In a toge battle, what you do is you try to get the opponent or your challenger to mess up. That's what you try to do. You try to get them to mess up. You try to get them uncomfortable. You try to make them do terrible lines, and that's how you get points. You don't necessarily try to pass them. Now, there are times where you could pass, but for the most part, toge battles are about just, you know, following a beautiful line, but pressuring your opponent to mess up. And also in normal racing, whether it's F1, motorcycle racing, what's the other one? Where the Lamborghinis race, the Porsches race, and all that stuff. What you'll notice is when people pass each other, they usually pass each other in corners. So that's when you'll see people truly making an advance on their opponent, is through sharp corners where, you know, you slow down at the apex, the corner, the turn, whatever. When they slow down, if you have a proper line, that's when you can hit on it and just accelerate. You know what I mean? And we've seen that several times with the Lynx. The Lynx, when Q was right at the corner with the P6, I mean, obviously he didn't have the amount of power he needed to like leverage that, you know, that power from the motor. But if he had just, I don't know, 20 or maybe 20 miles per hour more that he could do safely without beeping, I think he would have been able to pass in many of these turns. So that's what I want to do. I would like to see how I can push this machine in turns. And that is really what's going to tell me the capability of this machine. Because if I were to race, and that's what I really want to do, if I were to race the race versus a P6, what I would really like to do, I would really like to do it on a track, on a circuit track. Definitely not like Apple Valley Speedway. I would like something a little bit tighter. And if it was at the Apple Valley Speedway or something like that, I would prefer to be starting at the same line versus having the, you know, race all the way behind somewhere. Granted, you know, the P6 had better times, but I would like to start on an even playing field. You know what I mean? Even playing field, similar type rider, and just go at it. But that I think, in my opinion, would be a proper setup for those type of machines. So it has a 5,000 watt, you know, high speed motor, which I think is comparable to the P6 as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's pretty up there. I know the P6 probably has, not probably, but most likely has a much higher peak wattage in terms of the motor. But the nominal is pretty much on par. The max speed, no load, is, you know, 124 miles per hour. Now, obviously, I think, in my opinion, I don't know what people have been doing, but I would like to do maybe Ronin, because I know Ronin does a lot of PWM testing. I would like to review his video, just look at it again, just to see what type of PWMs he was getting. Because 124 miles per hour, no load, is quite substantial. And I always like to take away 20 miles per hour from the top no load speed and say that's the top speed. But then again, a lot of things come into play. You have wind, you have the weight of the rider, you have the temperature, so many things come into play. But like I said, the most important thing I've noticed about this machine is that while it's low profile, does a lot of good in the sense that it's light and you can push it. You know what I mean? That I think is probably the primary advantage over the P6, is its weight and your ability to push it hard. Because off the line, let's assume that this machine that I plan on getting is pristine, right? Like all the issues are flushed out, and then I weigh around 185 pounds. So let's just say I weigh 190, right? So I weigh 190 pounds. Let's say I have a similar type rider on the P6, and we accelerate as hard as we can, right? To cut out, just really push that thing off the line. I'm going to assume that if I make it off the line, like as I expect, and I would beat that P6. Number one, because the P6 physically is just bigger. Right? It's just bigger. So naturally, if we're at the same ability, if we have the same potential to riding ability, naturally the race is going to be faster. It's just the way it is. It's physics. Now, this is where, if true, that I feel this race would absolutely defeat the P6. Not because the race would beat it at top speed. It's that the race would be able to take it on in the turns. And once it takes it on that first or second turn, provided the rider has good legs, good thigh muscles, and all that stuff, and he doesn't get burnt out, which I've felt before in various races, I honestly think that, you know, a well-tuned wheel, a well established and how do you say, toned, exercised, fit rider would absolutely be able to withstand everything that the P6 has to offer. I think, I honestly think so, mainly because of the weight of the P6. Now, once you get to a stretch, you know, and if the rider is just as good as the rider on the race, obviously the P6 may make up for some of that lack of, or I would say that shortcoming in terms of its weight. But everything considered, these wheels on a track, on a closed circuit track, I think are closer than ever, because one is heavy, one is light, both do amazing speeds. I just want to know what PWM Ronan got on his, if he ever got to test it, actually. I'll have to check. And what PWMs are you guys getting? You can put that in the comment, because I know most people don't race their wheels. Most people don't push their wheels hard. Most people just ride their wheels to enjoy it. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I just like to race. I just haven't had the opportunity to do that. But it would be great to know that Begode was able to push out something fantastic, but because of the terrible way they released it, it just didn't do so well. You know what I mean? I think it was a mistake for Begode to, allow people to purchase only through Begode. As you know, I think they should have. I mean, I think eWheels did sell it, but I'm not sure what went on there in the business end. But if they were able to allow distributors to sell those wheels and go through all of the QA, I think that would have been a better approach. More expensive, but it would have been a better approach. Either way, if you do end up buying a race, just know that you're going to have to get your hands dirty and be patient. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if they're going to have more parts for these things, but right now, if you can get your hands on one for the price, I say get it. You know, there's going to be parts out there, in my opinion. I've had wheels I still have my MSP, I still have my EXN, I still have the 16X, and now the EX30. So, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to find parts. I think the issue is that, the firmware, right? So, but overall, as it stands, highly recommended wheel, in my opinion. I can't speak to the QA. I cannot speak to the QA. I always say, if you get a wheel directly from Begode and you didn't get it from a distributor, just know you're going to get your hands dirty, and just have a backup, have enough money to have a backup to purchase for backup board, backup motor. Because honestly, the proper approach is to work with your local repair shop, whether that Mono Rides, whether that's someone in Boston, Alien Rides in California, and iRides in New York. It's totally, that's the right way to go. Don't buy a wheel directly from Begode and then just say, all right, I got a great deal, let's go push this thing to the limit. You know what I'm saying? Push it to the limit. Next thing you know, that's the limit. You got on it and it's done. So we don't want to do that. And then next thing you know, you have a bad experience and you push it out there. That's a terrible wheel. That's it for now for me, guys. Let me know what you think about the Begode race in terms of its true performance. I know a lot of you guys have the wheel out there, but I don't know what you went through, or if you have any type of racing experience with the wheel, because after all, it is a race wheel. But then again, there's a lot of guys out there with Mustangs and Porsches, and they've never pushed it to the level. They just want a beautiful car that's powerful, So I think that's the majority of people. It is what it is. Overall, I think it's a fantastic wheel. I just want to learn it more. I just love the minimalization of it. It literally looks like a small EX30, a lighter, more powerful EX30. I just can't wait to really drive it the way I want to drive it, and just feel comfortable with it. You know what I mean? Push it around. So I can't think of anything else right now. As far as the amenities, the pedal, I love the pedal. Yeah, it can be adjusted. It's a little low, but it can be adjusted. I ended up scraping it because it's low, but I can increase the height, and the buttons in the back, you know, it's like I said, it's a completely different architecture. I don't mind it. The light is insanely bright. I mean, you can see the thing in the day on the street. The design that the guy has right now, there's no bar that goes from left to right, so it kind of looks like it's kind of open, whereas the original race version, you had that bar at the top. I would potentially put something there just to strengthen the rigidity a little bit more, to make it a little bit more rigid. But overall, I just love this wheel a lot. It's minimalistic, it's Batman-like. Oh, it's just great. So yeah, let's just see how this thing goes. Hopefully I'll get a chance to ride it again. Now, I did have the opportunity to talk to one of my riding buddies, and he did say, hey, you could ride my Lynx S. So it'd be awesome to do a comparison between those two. Not necessarily racing it or going fast, but, you know, just to see what the PWMs are with those two wheels. So, and other things like maneuvering, track day, city riding, basic stuff. Don't always have to go balls to the wall every single time. But yeah, until then, guys, next time, definitely leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this machine. And yeah, I honestly would like to know your comments. Thank you, guys. See you in the next one.